Hello, Mr. Dean. Do come in.
Hello. Hi.
Have a seat.
Bit nervous.
So, what seems to be the problem? Well, Doctor, I've been feeling so tired lately, and every time I do something, I'm exhausted. And I have this strange kind of lump on my side, you know, it's quite big. Let's lift up your shirt, let's have a look at you then. Okay then. It's right here. Yeah. Oh, it hurts to touch. As I expected. It's a massive growth, Mr. Dean. Oh, a massive growth. Oh, help me. I'm in a hospital. I don't know what's happened to me. Okay, well, clearly I'm not in hospital. And actually, this bed is creaky. I do know what's happened to me. Here's my attempt to sort of try and explain that. A little while back now, Plaid Hat Games, Plaid Hat Games, sent us a copy of Ash's Rise of the Phoenixborn, and I had trepidations. I was trepidated. I didn't know how to approach it, and so I didn't for a little while, because it's one of those games where you do deck building, where you custom build a particular deck of cards that will all do certain things to allow you to combat another opponent who has custom built their own deck of cards too. And I don't play games where that happens. That's actually kind of Quinn's sort of thing with Netrunner, which he's actually really good at. So clearly there was some kind of mistake, and I should just get a hold of Quinn's and he would deal with everything.
Hello?
Quinn's?
No, it's Matt.
Well, is Quinn's there?
No, Quinn's gave me his old phone.
Well, where has he gone?
Actually, I don't really know where he's gone. And, I didn't leave many instructions, I suppose.
Alright, well, you played Netrunner, haven't you, Matt? You know about deck building and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, right, well, I just wanted to ask a few sort of broad questions. Let's start with the actual concept of deck building and card ratios, I guess. And it just seems to me that, you know, because of variance, that's the best way to go about things. I mean, surely. Well, thank you, Matt. I mean, you've really cleared so much up for me. Everything makes a lot more sense now. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
So yes, Ashes is one of those games where the experience is as much about honing and shaping your own deck of cards as it is about just, you know, playing and winning or losing and then learning from your mistakes and tweaking your deck accordingly. You fight fantasy battles with your opponents, throwing out strange creatures or casting spells or throwing out buffs and things to defend yourself with, while at the same time obviously trying to take down your opponent's defenses and pierce those and attack them directly. Regardless of whether you go away from your games rich with success or sour with the taste of defeat still in your mouth and possibly sort of smeared across your face, because defeat tends to just get everywhere. It'll be like dripping down your chin and be on your shirt. Whatever happens, you will examine what you did. You'll examine which cards really worked for you, which tactics were successful, and start whittling down your deck and deciding that some things are really just useless and you don't need to play with those anymore. And if you don't know anything about deck builders, I have to emphasize this is vital. This constant cycle of play, adjustment, play, adjustment. You cannot have one without the other. If you do know your deck builders, then you'll know that games like Magic the Gathering have been around for decades. Ashes is entering maybe not a crowded market, but a market where the popular games are so tremendously popular. How can it possibly go up against them? What's it got to offer? What's different? The thing that makes Ashes different, that makes it special, is pretty much the first thing you will do in the first round of the first game, which is grab and roll big bulbous handfuls of shiny, chunky custom dice. This isn't just a deck building game. This is also a dice building game. A bit more on how that works in just a moment. These dice, what are they? Well, they're your raw materials. They're the things that you need, the resources that you need to cast your spells or summon creatures. You'll roll 10 of these at the start of your turn, and gradually you'll spend them one by one as you summon creatures onto the battlefield or make yourself more powerful, or occasionally just use a die for its own inherent power, like this blue one with a frog on. If you manage to roll a frog, you can just use the frog to do 1 point of damage to another creature, or just directly to your opponent. Or if you roll a wolf on this sort of purple wolf die, then you can use that to dispel an opponent's die, like maybe the frog die is too powerful, we're not having that around. If these resources are the foundations of your turn, then your cards are the schemes that are built upon those foundations. But it's not simply a case of just cashing in a resource to play a card. Now, Ashes is a lot more subtle than that. This isn't Monopoly. We're not just paying for things. Its turns are actually not just very structured, but sometimes very, very subtle. You see, most of playing Ashes is really about timing and precision. It's about when you move and how carefully you step. It's kind of like dancing. Each turn in Ashes starts the same, with you drawing up to 5 cards and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can count, and rolling a big bulbous hand of dice. Then you get to perform 1 main action and 1 side action. Anything with a certain symbol on is a main action, and that may be a card that you play, or it may be a power you've already played that you get to trigger, a spell that you cast, or it could be a unit that you attack with. A side action can be a card with a different symbol, or it might be something that your Phoenixborn themselves, your actual character, can do. And then you're done. Play passes to your opponent or opponents, and they'll inevitably do something similar, and then it comes back to you. When it comes back to you, you've probably burned a few couple of dice to get a card on the table, or you've possibly exhausted a unit because you used it previously, but maybe you got to draw a card, or something in your tableau is slightly different. Something in everyone else's tableau is slightly different. Have they deployed a unit that you have to preemptively strike, or will you now need to build up your defenses even more? So, you know, you play another card, or you use a card that you've deployed and you burn a few more dice, the play goes around again. And once you get used to this really simple structure, and by the way, everything in Ashes is really quick to learn, you realize that each turn is one of dwindling resources, but growing possibilities. Do you hold off awesome cards or powerful units to the end of the turn when your opponents have started to use up theirs and use their resources, or do you try and strike early before there's too much on the board? Or maybe in this particular turn, a great deal doesn't actually happen, and everyone runs out of dice and resources, and then you all pass, and then the whole process starts again. Regardless, however you do things, what's important is not really what you do. It's just, and I really have to get this across to you, it's not what, it's when. Ashes kind of really subverted my expectations. I was prepared for this sort of ponderous, thoughtful, slow card game of tactics and plans, and actually this constant back and forth makes everything really, really pacey, and it makes the games very quick, 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes less. The thing is, if you're one of those players who says, oh, you know, I'm going to deploy these units in a couple of turns and buff them with this and get these spells ready and I'll be really powerful, you're playing too slowly. You don't have time to do that. It's a game about improvising and reacting to things that your opponents do. If you're slowly, carefully inflating this balloon of ideas, it takes but a moment for a well-placed card from an opponent to needle that, to pop that. Ashes. The dance that is Ashes isn't some lazy waltz, it's a quick step. And the fact that the games are so short means that you get a very quick idea of whether your deck is any good or not, or what you need to do to improve it. I really like that kind of turnaround, and I really like how much of a deal timing is. It's not just a game about what your deck is and what you play, but it's whether you hold off for the right moment, whether you deploy something early or late, or whether you hold back surprises. And that's surely what all good card games always have been. It's that moment of surprising someone with an unexpected play. I like that the manual is really svelte as well. I like that there's only about 8 pages of this that you need to read to understand how to play. And I looked at this once and that was pretty much it, except occasionally you have to sort of clarify certain card clashes or strange possibilities that appear, and then you go in the manual, and when you're playing a very pacey game, to spend a couple of minutes actually stopping to look for something is a bit of a downer, especially when you have a conflict of rules that isn't quite addressed in the glossary. Now, there was another discussion thread that I was gonna pick up on. Dice building. Let's very quickly talk about dice building. Like everything in Ashes, this won't take very long. You'll always have 10 dice for your resources, but exactly which dice you have is entirely up to you. Obviously, you'll want to pick dice that can actually roll the symbols that are marked on the cards in the decks that you built, because if you didn't do that, you would be nuts. But the precise ratios of things are entirely up to you. One of the very first things that I did with the pre-built decks that the game recommends is not look at the deck makeup of a deck that I just lost with, but actually look at the dice makeup and go, I just need fewer of a certain dice and more of another dice, and then I'll be better and more powerful. That's just another decision to be made in the game and in your deck creation. Obviously, dice are fickle, and rolling dice doesn't guarantee that you're going to get exactly what you want, although that's a really good roll. But they're no more or less fickle than a deck of cards that you put together. And they're really cute. They're just really cute. Look at them. Now, if like me, you're excited by all of these lovely little custom dice, as of course I would be because I have some deep-seated problem in that area, you're going to be thrilled by the art in Ashes because it's so good. It's vibrant. Yes, publishers are very good at doing art for all kinds of card games now, and a lot of card games now look terrific because they understand how to do good card art, how to do good design, but Ashes just sort of explodes like all of those colours coming out of Newton's prison. It looks absolutely wonderful. It looks charming to me. This is obviously entirely subjective, but I think it's one of the best looking card games out there now. And it's so well designed as well. It's kind of a victory for both artistry and clarity. So my problem now is I can't actually find enough negative things to say. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, but there's been no shoe fallings at all. There's been zero shoe precipitation. I guess I have one moderate caveat, which is that although the game can be played with 3 or 4 players, I think it really just works as a dueling game because I don't know what the game actually gains from having more people around the table. You end up in that kind of dynamic where you don't want to look too powerful so that people will attack you, but at the same time you also want to pick on the weaker players because you have to eliminate them all from the game, so you go for the easy target. There aren't really cards that consider the fact that there are multiple people around the table. That's the thing. I just don't think anything comes of additional people playing. Perhaps that will be a thing that Plaid Hat will address with expansions, who knows. And by the way, expansions are being done kind of in the way that Netrunner is, where particular expansions will come out. This won't be something like Magic where you go and buy blister packs and spend ages trying to get the cards that you need. No, everything will be sort of equitable and on an even keel. I'm not a very big fan of deck building, and I've been really enjoying Ashes, and actually the more I play it, the more I've been enjoying it, even though I'm bad at it. Am I going to sink into it and never be seen again and become a really regular player? I don't know, but I am going to play it again. And that feels weird. It's a weird feeling for me because I'm just not supposed to be particularly into stuff like this. So does that sound like an endorsement? Because it is. Shut Up and Sit Down very much recommends Ashes. Obviously, things may change. You know, the thing with a deck building game is they grow, they change, and the future is the undiscovered country. We don't know what eventually is going to happen to Ashes and you know, how well it will be expanded, or if it will remain balanced, or if people will break it with extraordinary combinations. But I don't know if that matters. While the future is unknown, the present is nevertheless really good. So I guess things have kind of turned on their head now. Quinns has vanished. I'm playing deck builders. What could possibly happen next at Shut Up and Sit Down's North American office? It's almost as if I'm setting up some kind of future possibility, a kind of a rhetorical cliffhanger. I wonder what's next. Ah.